Imagine you built something incredible, a product so good, so perfectly made that millions of people fell in love with it. And then imagine watching someone else take it from you, not by making something better, but by being hungrier, more ruthless, and completely willing to do whatever it took to win.
This is the story of Richard and Maurice McDonald, the two brothers who invented the modern fast food industry, and Ray Kroc, the man who took it from them.
Dick and Mac McDonald grew up poor in New Hampshire during the Great Depression. They moved to California, chasing Hollywood dreams that never quite materialized. But in 1940, in a small town called San Bernardino, they opened a drive-in barbecue restaurant. And something unexpected happened. It worked.
But by 1948, business had slowed. The brothers sat down and made a decision that would change the world. They closed the restaurant for 3 months, fired their entire staff, and completely redesigned the operation from scratch. They called it the Speedee Service System. The idea was radical for its time. Instead of a full menu with car hops and waiting, everything was stripped back to 9 items: burgers, fries, and drinks. Every station in the kitchen was designed like an assembly line. A burger could be made and handed to a customer in 30 seconds flat.
The result was extraordinary. Prices dropped, lines formed around the block. Families who had never eaten at a restaurant before could now afford to. The McDonald brothers weren't just running a restaurant. They had accidentally invented a new category of dining.
By the mid-1950s, the McDonald brothers were millionaires. They had a beautiful home, a successful business, and no desire to grow further. They were content. And that contentment, that simple human desire to enjoy what they had built, would turn out to be their greatest vulnerability.
Enter Ray Kroc. In 1954, Kroc was a 52-year-old traveling salesman who sold milkshake machines. He had spent his entire adult life chasing deals that never quite made him rich. He was tired, he had diabetes, he had a bad hip, and he was still hungry. Kroc heard that a small burger restaurant in San Bernardino had ordered 8 of his milkshake machines, enough to make 40 milkshakes simultaneously. That was unheard of. He had to see it for himself, so he drove out to California, and what he saw stopped him in his tracks. The operation was unlike anything he had ever seen. Perfect efficiency. Hundreds of customers served in minutes. Happy families everywhere. Kroc did not see a restaurant. He saw a system that could be replicated anywhere in the world. He walked inside and introduced himself to the brothers.
Kroc proposed a franchising deal. The brothers had tried franchising before, and it had been a disaster. Franchisees kept changing the recipes, lowering the quality, destroying the brand. They were skeptical, but Kroc was persuasive. He promised he would protect the system exactly as they had built it.
The early franchises worked. By the late 1950s, McDonald's restaurants were opening across the country, and the system held. The food was consistent. The experience was identical from state to state. Customers loved it. Kroc was proving his model worked. But he had a problem. He wasn't making enough money. Kroc's franchising deal with the brothers gave him only a fraction of each restaurant's revenue. The brothers were collecting royalties and living comfortably. Kroc was doing all the hard work and barely breaking even. He needed a new model, and he found one in real estate.
The idea was this. Instead of just franchising the brand, McDonald's Corporation would buy or lease the land that each franchise restaurant sat on, then lease it back to the franchisee at a markup. Kroc wouldn't just own a fast food chain, he would own the land underneath every single restaurant. This changed everything. By controlling the real estate, Kroc had leverage over every franchisee that he never had before. Pay the rent, follow the system, or lose your restaurant. The McDonald brothers had given him the brand, but Kroc had quietly built something else entirely, a real estate empire. By the early 1960s, McDonald's Corporation was worth millions and growing fast. Kroc wanted to buy the brothers out entirely. He wanted full control. He approached Dick and Mac with an offer. $2.7 million, split between them. to walk away from the company they had built. The brothers accepted. They were tired. They were comfortable. And $2.7 million seemed like enough. What they did not know, what Kroc did not tell them, was that McDonald's Corporation was already on its way to being worth hundreds of millions of dollars. The deal was structured so that Dick and Mac would receive no royalties. Ever. There is one detail from this deal that has never stopped haunting historians. The original McDonald's restaurant, the very first one in San Bernardino, the one the brothers had built with their own hands, was not included in the sale. Kroc had to license the name separately for that location. He was furious. Kroc's response was methodical and merciless. He opened a new McDonald's franchise directly across the street from the brothers' original restaurant. He undercut them, outspent them, and drove them out of business.
The brothers were forced to rename their own restaurant. The place where it all began, it became a place called the Big M. The Big M closed within a few years. Dick McDonald said later that Kroc had driven them out deliberately, and that the whole thing had left a bitterness that never fully healed. Mac McDonald passed away in 1971. Dick lived until 1998. He never received another dollar from McDonald's. Ray Kroc went on to build one of the most valuable companies in the history of capitalism. McDonald's today operates more than 40,000 restaurants in over 100 countries, generating revenues of more than $23 billion a year. Kroc died in 1984, a billionaire. He is remembered as a visionary. The brothers are a footnote. Here is what makes this story so uncomfortable. Ray Kroc did not lie. He did not forge documents. He operated within the law at every step. He simply wanted it more than they did. He was willing to sacrifice more, risk more, endure more. And in the game he was playing, that was enough. What Dick and Mac McDonald built was genuinely brilliant. The system, the efficiency, the vision of affordable food for ordinary families, that was theirs. What they lacked was hunger. Not for food, but for more. And in business, as in so many things, the people who want it most tend to get it, regardless of who deserves it. Every builder faces this question eventually. You have created something, you have earned the right to rest. But the world does not stop moving just because you have. And the moment you decide your work is finished, that is precisely the moment someone else decides theirs has just begun. Ray Kroc was 52 years old and still hungry. The McDonald brothers were in their 40s and already full. That difference, that single human difference, was the whole story. Next time on Empire.AndRuin, the story of a trader who lost $1.3 billion in a single afternoon and brought one of the oldest banks in the world crashing down with him. Subscribe so you don't miss it.